Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars lore episode. Today we look at the stupidity of Imperial Walkers. First of all, I have to say one thing. Are Star Wars walkers cool? Absolutely. Am I happy that walkers are a part of the Star Wars universe? Also absolutely. However, there's no ignoring the serious design flaws plaguing the Empire's walkers. Specifically, I've identified 3 things that I'd like to talk about. There is, however, one thing a walker does very well. It is super intimidating. If you see a pack of AT-ATs from across the battlefield, that's pure fear and a tangible psychological effect. And my first point actually ties into this. Walkers do not have enough guns. They talk the talk with their appearance, but don't walk the walk. AT-ATs, for example, are drastically underarmed for their size, with most only having 4 weapons and only laser cannons. This means they lack the necessary firepower to be truly effective frontal assault vehicles, both in power and especially flexibility. Most of the walkers we see also have a ton of blind spots and struggle against fast-moving targets, something made worse by the slow, lumbering nature of the beasts. If I were an engineer working for the Empire and I knew we had to keep walkers but I wanted to make them better, I would make sure that my larger variants like the AT-AT and up were used purely for assault, rather than some weird assault transport hybrid. There's no reason why dedicated transports, even transport walkers, can't come in after a line of AT-ATs. I would then take a bunch of that interior walker space that's no longer being used for storage and house extra power generators, which would provide a light shield and energy for extra weapons. Perhaps the walkers would need to be made a little bit bigger to compensate for this extra weight, but maybe not. I would then use this extra energy for point defense cannons on the flank and rear of the vehicle, while some would also be given larger, more powerful assault weapons. The First Order's AT-M6 is a good model to strive for. My point is, if you want to be a terrifying symbol of power, you need to back it up with your firepower. My second point is that there's almost always a better alternative for every niche a walker could fit. My main problem with walkers is that I really see no reason why you choose a legged ground unit. In most cases, the best way to, for example, transport troops is through the air. On Hoth, for example, there's no reason why you wouldn't use a large to medium-sized gunship or actual transports to move troops into battle. Honestly, throw a few cannons on those Titan transports or the Gazanti cruisers and baby, you got yourself a stew going. And again, this all comes down to the Empire's removal of specialization from all of their assets, but why would you ever bother using an AT-AT to transport troops? It's tragically slow, so tall that disembarking troops is not easy, and super inflexible. Why not use something like, say, the Republic Juggernaut, which is nearly 3 times as fast, larger, likely just as tough, and probably more well armed? Walking things into battle just doesn't make sense to me. Legs are very vulnerable targets, and taking even one out can cripple the machine. Legs also have a ton of moving parts, and for that reason, walkers are likely very maintenance intensive. And for 4-legged, hinge-jointed walkers, including the AT-AT, lateral movement is also very difficult. Again, combining this with the general preference for front-facing weapons, you have a very inflexible asset. Having some walkers is probably okay, but in my opinion, traditional tanks, air support units, and wheeled vehicles are chronically underused by the Empire. The argument that I often hear is that walkers are used where the terrain is too complicated for wheeled vehicles to navigate, or in environments where repulsor lift vehicles cannot be used. Now, I think the second one has some merit, but I don't know about the first. For one, I'm not really sure that there are many environments that something like a Juggernaut would find more difficult to navigate than an AT-AT. For 2, this description of a specialized walker doesn't really match the practical use of the vehicles, which are basically employed on all terrains as a main battle tank. And for 3, you could easily use repulsors to replace the wheels of tanks, which is something the Empire did in canon with the Occupier line, depending on the terrain. There is supposedly something called a repulsor lift jammer, which can stop repulsor lift vehicles from working, but frankly, I don't buy that was any sort of common technology. As we see in the latest Thrawn novel, starships use repulsor lifts when flying in atmosphere, and if a technology like that was more prevalent, in-atmosphere battles or battles over a planet's surface would be much different. But even if we accept for some reason that walkers are necessary, there's still a huge step back from those used by the Republic, which is my third point that I'd like to talk about. That's not saying that Republic walkers didn't have issues. For example, there's the AT-OT. Why not put a roof on it? But Republic walkers were more specialized, with actual fast-moving recon transports, light assault walkers, artillery, heavy assault walkers, and even transport walkers. The Empire took these dozen or so models and seemingly put them into 2 or 3. We have the AT-ST, which, because of its use as both a scout walker and a battle walker, performs both roles poorly, neither being fast or well armored enough to do any job particularly well. The AT-AT tries to be more of a transport walker, which, as I discussed, gimps it in other areas. The Republic's AT-TE, on the other hand, was low to the ground, with more legs and stability, more varied weaponry, and faster movement, is a much better frontline assault walker because it is more specialized. If you want something that's scarier, fine, scale that up, but keep everything else around too. Over-hybridization and a lack of specialization is an issue the Empire grappled with throughout its reign, likely due to the need to mass-produce assets in an effort to meet the needs of a very large galaxy. But I don't think that's an excuse, and to me, Imperial Walkers just don't make a whole lot of sense. What do you think of the issues I brought up? And these are just some of the reasons why Imperial Walkers aren't that great. And that's saying nothing about the fact that they can be taken down by logs, glorified repurposed forklifts, or just a single well-placed mine. There's also the fact that the flaws within the Imperial AT-AT were covered up by many within the Empire. But as I said, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, may the Force be with you.